My mother-in-law and husband abandoned me, leaving me stranded in the chaotic bustle of the airport terminal. They were blissfully unaware that I was the one who had meticulously funded and organized our entire beach vacation, from the plane tickets to the luxurious hotel by the sea. I took a deep, steadying breath, reached for my phone with newfound resolve, and made a single, life-altering call. The story I am going to tell is based on fiction and does not reflect real events. Enjoy listening. Marina had always been a stellar accountant, renowned for her precision and resourcefulness. Her sharp eye for detail and ability to navigate even the most dire financial situations made her indispensable at work. Colleagues admired her knack for turning chaos into order, but as she increasingly realized, those same traits became a heavy burden at home. 5 years of marriage had taught her a bitter truth. Her husband, Javier, had grown complacent, expecting life's complexities to magically resolve themselves. Behind that illusion of ease stood Marina, quietly pulling the strings to keep their world spinning. This beach vacation was no exception. It was her brainchild, born from a fleeting dream of sunlit shores and tranquil waves. She had financed every aspect of it, flights, accommodations, and activities, using her hard-earned savings. Countless late nights were spent hunched over her laptop, comparing airline deals, securing a boutique hotel with breathtaking ocean views, and curating a detailed itinerary of excursions to ensure Javier wouldn't grow restless. Javier, predictably, contributed nothing to the effort. He was perpetually swamped, burying himself in work, lingering with friends, or tinkering endlessly in his garage. Every time Marina hinted at needing help, he brushed her off with excuses, leaving her to shoulder the load alone. Once the plans were finalized, Javier transformed into the hero of his own narrative, regaling his co-workers with tales of how he'd splurged to pamper his family. Marina bit her tongue, swallowing her frustration. She had grown accustomed to this role, the unseen architect of everyone else's comfort, a silent enabler of their happiness. It was what she did, who she was, or so she had convinced herself. But today, in the cramped taxi speeding toward the airport, something within her stirred, a quiet rebellion against the weight of her invisible labor. Lucia Paulina, her mother-in-law, sat in the back seat, exuding an air of regal entitlement. As the city blurred past, she launched into her customary litany of complaints. "Marina, are you absolutely certain you've checked everything? You didn't forget our passports, did you? Or the travel insurance? You know Javier is so absent-minded, he needs constant watching." Javier, slouched beside Marina in the front, didn't even glance up from his phone, where he was engrossed in some mindless game. His indifference was palpable, a silent endorsement of his mother's nagging. Marina inhaled deeply, forcing a veneer of calm. "Lucia Paulina, everything is under control. I have all the documents, the insurance is in place, and the tickets are printed. There's no need to worry." "No need to worry?" Lucia Paulina scoffed, her voice dripping with condescension. "How can I not worry when it all falls on you? Young people these days are so careless. In my time, things were done properly, reliably, affordably." What followed was a long-winded sermon about the virtues of her era, when life was simpler, people were more responsible, and vacations were somehow more authentic. Marina tuned her out, her gaze fixed on the window. The urban sprawl outside, gray concrete towers, garish advertisements, and desolate outskirts mirrored the emptiness creeping into her heart. A sudden, visceral fear gripped her, not of the trip itself, but of the life stretching endlessly before her. Was this her fate? To forever be the unacknowledged cog in someone else's machine, her own dreams and desires buried beneath their demands. Abruptly, Javier broke his silence, yawning loudly. "Mama, why do you always start this? Marina's got everything sorted. Stop picking on her." Marina's heart lifted for a fleeting moment, grateful for his rare defense. But her hope crumbled as Javier, sensing his mother's disapproval, quickly backtracked. "She's incredible, isn't she? Handles everything like a pro. Right, darling?" His tone was patronizing, reducing her efforts to a parlor trick. Anger simmered beneath Marina's calm exterior. Handles everything, as if her only purpose was to serve their whims, as if she were a machine, not a woman with her own aspirations, her own soul. "Of course I do," she said, her voice tight with suppressed fury. "What else am I supposed to do?" Lucia Paulina, oblivious to the venom in Marina's words, continued her diatribe, now lamenting the state of modern beach resorts. "They're overrun with foreigners these days. Nothing worth seeing," she grumbled, as if the world owed her a private paradise. The airport was a maelstrom of noise and disorder, amplifying Marina's growing unease. The check-in area was a nightmare, serpentine queues, weary travelers, and the incessant wails of overtired children. It was a typical scene for an international hub in peak season, but for Lucia Paulina, it was an affront to her dignity. "Why is this line so endless? We'll miss our flight," she fumed, clutching her purse as if it were a lifeline. "Javier, you're the man here. Do something." As always, Javier deflected. "Marina, can you see if there's a way to speed this up? Mama's blood pressure is spiking." Marina knew Lucia Paulina's blood pressure was a convenient excuse, triggered not by health, but by dissatisfaction with the world. Arguing was futile, so she trudged to the information desk, inquiring about priority check-in for an elderly passenger. The clerk's response was as expected. No exceptions. Everyone waits. Returning to Javier and Lucia Paulina, she delivered the news with a resigned shrug. "I knew it!" Lucia Paulina exclaimed, her voice rising to a theatrical pitch. "You always botch things, Marina. Couldn't you have planned this better? Researched how this airport works?" "Lucia Paulina, I did everything possible," Marina replied, her tone measured but firm. "We arrived early, all documents are in order, but the line is long. It's beyond my control." "Beyond your control?" Lucia Paulina sneered. "Whose fault is it then? You're the one orchestrating this trip. Or do you expect me to believe Javier planned it? He's a hard-working man. He doesn't have time for this frivolous nonsense." Marina clenched her jaw, the familiar sting of distorted truth cutting deep. Javier, the noble provider; she, the trivial organizer of nonsense. It was a narrative she'd heard countless times, one that erased her contributions and diminished her existence. When their turn at the check-in counter finally arrived, Lucia Paulina found fresh fuel for her grievances. "Why aren't we in business class? I've dreamed of flying business class my entire life," she whined, her voice carrying across the terminal. "Lucia Paulina, I booked the tickets months ago. Business class was prohibitively expensive," Marina explained, her patience fraying. "Expensive?" Lucia Paulina gasped, as if personally insulted. "They're scrimping on me after all I've done for this family." Javier, instead of quelling his mother's outburst, sighed. "Mama, relax. But seriously, Marina, couldn't you have arranged something nicer?" Marina's anger flared, hot and unrelenting. Something nicer. Meaning something tailored to their comfort, with no regard for her sacrifices. "And these seats are by the aisle?" Lucia Paulina continued undeterred. "I refuse to sit by the aisle. I need a window seat to admire the clouds." I'm sorry, no other seats are available, the check-in agent said, her voice flat from dealing with countless complaints. No seats? You're obligated to fix this. I'll escalate this to your supervisor, Lucia Paulina threatened, her face flushed with indignation. Javier, exasperated by his mother's theatrics, made things worse. Marina, why are you just standing there like a statue? Ask properly. You're good at sweet-talking people. Sweet-talking, meaning begging, groveling, humiliating herself. Marina's patience snapped. I already asked Javier. There are no other seats, she said, her voice cold and final. What's gotten into you today? Javier snapped back. You're ruining everything. If you can't act normal, just stay home. And then, something extraordinary happened. Something Marina hadn't anticipated, even from herself. She looked at Javier, his dismissive scowl, at Lucia Paulina, her imperious glare, at her suitcase, a silent companion by her side. A wave of clarity washed over her, light and liberating. Fine, she said, her voice steady, almost serene. I'll stay. Javier and Lucia Paulina froze, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. What do you mean you'll stay? Have you gone mad? Lucia Paulina shrieked, drawing curious glances from nearby travelers. You'll manage just fine without me, Marina replied, her words infused with a quiet strength she hadn't felt in years. Javier's frown deepened. Marina, cut it out. We're going on vacation. You can't just bail. I can, Javier, and I am. She gripped her suitcase handle and turned toward the terminal exit, her steps deliberate. Javier lunged to stop her, grabbing her arm. Marina, enough of this tantrum. Are you sulking? Ignore Mama. You know she's like this. I know exactly what she's like, Javier, Marina said, pulling free. I know what you're both like. I've known for too long. Stay if you can't behave, Javier shouted after her, parroting her words with a sneer. Marina's lips curled into a faint, bittersweet smile. That's precisely what he'd said, and she was staying, but not in the way he imagined. She lingered just long enough to watch Javier and Lucia Paulina, still bickering, disappear toward the boarding gate. They believed they'd disciplined her, put her in her place. They were utterly oblivious to the truth. They hadn't punished her. They'd freed her. Marina stepped out of the check-in area, the terminal's clamor fading into a distant hum. She pulled out her phone, her hands steady, her mind clear. There were no tears, no second-guessing, only a resolute calm, as if she'd finally reclaimed a part of herself long buried. The phone wasn't just a device. It was a lifeline, a key to unlocking the life she'd surrendered to others' control. First, the reservations. She opened the email with the hotel confirmation, a relic of her naive hope for a harmonious family getaway. Family. The word felt hollow, a mockery of the reality she'd endured. Her fingers moved swiftly, canceling the bookings for Javier and Lucia Paulina. No apologies, no justifications, just a clean, decisive act. The system flashed warnings about cancellation fees, but Marina dismissed them. Freedom came at a cost, and she was ready to pay it, every cent a step toward her liberation. Next, the airport transfer. She navigated to the booking, confirmed the details, and canceled it with the same ruthless efficiency. She pictured Javier and Lucia Paulina standing bewildered in Antalia's arrivals hall, realizing their ride had vanished. A flicker of satisfaction, sharp, almost wicked, crossed her mind. She didn't dwell on it, but she didn't push it away either. After years of swallowing her pride, she deserved this small, private victory. Now, her own plans. Marina opened the airline app, her heart quickening with anticipation. Business class. She'd fantasized about it for years, imagining the luxury of a spacious seat, attentive service, and a view of the clouds unmarred by obligation. Javier had always scoffed at the idea, calling it an extravagant waste. "We could extend our trip for that price," he'd say, his voice dripping with practicality that suffocated her dreams. She selected a window seat, far from crying babies or chatty strangers, and booked a private transfer from the destination airport. No more crowded shuttles, no more haggling with gruff taxi drivers, just serenity, tailored to her. The final piece of her escape. A call. She scrolled to Alejandra, a dear friend who'd left years ago to start anew by the sea in another country. Their conversations were rare, but their bond endured through sporadic messages and shared memories. Marina trusted Alejandra's compassion, knowing she'd offer refuge without judgment. The phone rang, each tone stretching into eternity. Doubt crept in. Would Alejandra even answer? Then her warm voice broke through. "Marina! My God, it's been forever! How's my favorite number cruncher?" Marina smiled, the familiarity soothing her nerves. "Hey, Alejandra. I've had a bit of a plan change." "Plan change? You sound different. What's up?" Alejandra's tone shifted, sensing something deeper. Marina exhaled, steadying herself. "I'm free. I walked away from the vacation, from Javier, from his mother, from everything." Alejandra paused, absorbing the weight of Marina's words. "Free? As in, you left them? Where are you now?" "In the airport, and I'm coming to you if you'll have me. I just booked a flight, business class." Marina's voice cracked with a mix of defiance and amusement. Alejandra laughed, a bright, infectious sound. "Marina, you absolute legend! Business class? I'm obsessed. Of course, come, I've got a guest room with the most stunning sea view, and it's all yours." "A sea view," Marina murmured, the words a balm to her soul. "That's exactly what I need." "Then it's settled. Text me your flight details. I'll be there to pick you up. This is huge, Marina. I'm so proud of you." "Thanks, Alejandra," Marina said, her throat tightening. "You have no idea how much this means." "Don't thank me. Friends are for times like this. Safe travels, and I'll see you soon." Marina ended the call, a weight lifting from her shoulders. She glanced at her business class ticket on her phone, at Alejandra's message promising a warm welcome. It felt like a dream, yet it was gloriously real. She'd done it, shattered the chains of expectation, stepped out of the shadows, and chosen herself. Meanwhile, in Antalya, Javier and Lucia Paulina disembarked, their faces alight with the promise of a lavish vacation. Lucia Paulina scanned the arrivals hall, expecting a driver holding a sign with their names, a detail she assumed Marina had flawlessly arranged. Javier, too, was at ease, never doubting Marina's ability to deliver. But no sign appeared. Lucia Paulina's composure cracked. She stormed to the information desk, demanding answers. The clerk tapped at her keyboard and shook her head. "I'm sorry. The transfer booking under your names was canceled." "Canceled?" Lucia Paulina's voice rose, drawing stares. "By whom? This is outrageous. I don't know who canceled it, but the system shows the booking was voided this morning." Javier approached, sensing trouble. "What's going on?" "The transfer's gone," Lucia Paulina snapped. "They say it's canceled." Javier's jaw tightened. "I'll fix this." He dialed Marina's number. Ring after ring, no answer. He fired off a text. "Marina, where's our transfer? What the hell is happening?" The message showed as delivered, but no reply came. His temper flared. She was clearly throwing a fit over their airport spat. sabotaging them out of spite. "She's gone too far this time," he muttered. They hailed a taxi, the driver's surly demeanor only fueling Lucia Paulina's complaints. "It's swelteringly unbearable. My head's pounding, and this driver clearly doesn't know the route," she ranted. Javier stared out the window, tuning her out, his mind racing. At the hotel, another blow landed. The receptionist, after checking their passports, delivered the news with practiced neutrality. "I'm afraid your booking was canceled this morning. I can check for other available rooms." "Canceled?" Javier roared, slamming his hand on the counter. "We reserved a sea view suite months ago." "I'm sorry, sir, but the reservation was voided. I can offer a standard room with a courtyard view if available." "A courtyard view?" Lucia Paulina's voice hit a fever pitch. "This is unacceptable." "Mama, please," Javier said, his patience fraying. "We'll sort this out." But sorting it out proved impossible. Every nearby hotel was booked solid, and the few available rooms were priced beyond their means. Stranded in a foreign country with no lodging, no transfer, and dwindling cash, their dream vacation unraveled into a nightmare. Javier tried Marina again. Still no answer. He sent another furious message. "Marina, have you lost your mind? Did you do this on purpose? You'll pay for this." The message was red, marked by 2 blue ticks that felt like a slap in the face. Javier's rage boiled over. He couldn't fathom Marina's audacity. He'd always seen her as pliant, dependable, ready to bend over backward for the family. Clearly, he'd misjudged her. Lucia Paulina was equally stunned, her shock laced with betrayal. She'd always believed Marina owed her gratitude for allowing her into the family. Ungrateful wretch, she thought, her bitterness palpable. They slumped in the hotel lobby, defeated and furious. Javier glanced at his mother's tear-streaked face and felt a fleeting pang of guilt. Had he pushed Marina too far? Had he taken her for granted, demanding too much? The thoughts were quickly smothered by anger. "She's the one who screwed up," he told himself. "She should have been more responsible." He opened his phone, scouring the internet for budget accommodations, desperate to avoid sleeping on the streets. Lucia Paulina's complaints droned on, but Javier barely registered them, consumed by the task of salvaging their ruined trip. Meanwhile, Marina reclined in the plush comfort of business class, a glass of chilled champagne in hand. The clouds outside her window glowed with the soft hues of dawn, a canvas of possibility. She didn't dwell on Javier or Lucia Paulina. Her thoughts were of herself, her future, her dreams, the life she was finally claiming. She opened Javier's messages, skimming his vitriolic accusations, and marked them read without a word. Her silence was her power, a declaration louder than any argument. Marina sat on Alejandra's balcony, a flowing dress the color of the sea draping her frame. Her bare feet rested on the cool stone tiles, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of salt and freedom. In her hand was a vibrant cocktail, its fruity tang sparking her senses. Before her, the ocean stretched endlessly, its waves kissing the horizon where the sky blushed with the pinks and purples of sunset. The rhythmic crash of the surf was a lullaby, unraveling years of knotted tension from her body. Her phone lay on the table, its screen flickering with notifications. She knew Javier was behind the barrage of messages, his words likely a torrent of blame and fury. She caught snippets of the previews. "You've ruined everything. Mama's a wreck. How could you?" But Marina felt no urge to respond. There was no guilt, no fear, only a quiet marvel at how effortlessly she'd made her choice. and a sobering realization of how long she'd allowed others to define her existence. Alejandra emerged onto the balcony, her blonde hair tousled by the wind, her eyes alight with mischief. "Well, how's the view treating you?" she asked, handing Marina a fresh cocktail. "Like a dream I didn't know I needed," Marina replied, savoring the drink's sweet tart balance. "Thank you, Alejandra, for everything." "Poofed! Save it," Alejandra said, plopping into a wicker chair. "You know my door's always open for you. Honestly, it's been too quiet here. Now dish, what went down? Your texts were cryptic and I need the full saga." Marina sighed, the story spilling out like a long-held breath. She described Lucia Polina's ceaseless criticism, a relentless barrage that chipped away at her spirit. She spoke of Javier's loyalty to his mother, how he'd always sided with her, leaving Marina to mediate their conflicts. She confessed her exhaustion, the way her own desires had been buried beneath their demands, and the chilling moment when she realized she'd become a ghost in her own life. "The worst part, Alejandra," she said, her voice steady but heavy, "was that I accepted it. I got used to being their fixer, their servant. I looked in the mirror one day and saw nothing. I was gone." Alejandra listened, her expression softening with empathy. When Marina finished, she reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "You're a warrior for breaking free," she said, her voice warm with conviction. "That took incredible courage. You didn't disappear, Marina. You were just hidden, locked away, and now you're coming back to life." Marina's smile was fragile but hopeful, a flicker of light in the dusk. "I don't even know what comes next," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've never been on my own. It's terrifying." "Fear's part of it," Alejandra said, leaning back. "But it's not the boss of you. Remember that crazy parachute jump we did in college? We were petrified, but the thrill afterward? Pure magic." Marina laughed, the memory vivid and bright. "God, we were so reckless. But yeah, it was unforgettable." "Exactly," Alejandra grinned. "This is your parachute moment, Marina. You're leaping into a new life. It's scary as hell, but soon you'll be soaring. Trust me." They fell silent, the sunset painting their faces with golden warmth. Marina's phone buzzed insistently, but she ignored it. This moment was hers, the sea's whisper, Alejandra's presence, and the fragile but growing sense of freedom blooming within her. In a dingy Antalya hotel, Javier perched on the edge of a sagging mattress, his fingers flying across his phone as he drafted another scathing message to Marina. His face was a mask of fury, his eyes betraying a raw, unfamiliar vulnerability. "You've destroyed everything. Mama's falling apart. We're practically homeless. Do you even realize what a room costs now? Fix this. Now." He hit send and glared at Lucia Polina, who lay on the adjacent bed, her sobs echoing in the cramped room. "Why are you bawling?" he snapped, his voice sharp with frustration. "You drove her to this." "It's not my fault," Lucia Polina wailed, clutching a crumpled tissue. "She was always too headstrong, too clever for her own good. I told you she wasn't right for us." "Who cares who's right?" Javier shouted, his temper unraveling. "Where are we supposed to sleep? The sidewalk?" "You should have thought of us," Lucia Paulina muttered, her tears giving way to resentment. "After all we've done for her." Javier rolled his eyes, the word "done" ringing hollow. Lucia Paulina's help had been a ceaseless stream of criticism, her presence a constant drain. Deep down, he knew Marina had been the family's backbone, ensuring their comfort while he coasted. But admitting that was too much. It was easier to vilify her, to cast her as the betrayer. He checked his phone, no reply, just those infuriating read receipts. His anger surged, but beneath it was a gnawing realization. Marina had changed. The woman he'd always manipulated with guilt or charm was gone, and he had no idea how to reach her. Javier sank back, exhaustion overtaking him. For the first time, he felt truly adrift. Marina had always been his anchor, solving every crisis, smoothing every wrinkle. Now she was absent, leaving him to face his mother's complaints and his own failures alone. He opened a budget travel app, his fingers trembling as he searched for a place to stay, his mind racing with the daunting task of salvaging their shattered vacation. On Alejandra's balcony, Marina gazed at the stars twinkling in the velvet sky. A faint tremor of uncertainty lingered, but fear was giving way to possibility. She closed her eyes, inhaling the briny air, her heart beating with a vitality she'd forgotten. This was the beginning, a life where she would choose her path, honor her desires, and seek her own joy. The silence around her was no longer a void, but a canvas, one where she could finally hear her own voice, and for the first time in years, she loved